I just think that only a monster could pull off something like that.
Kayla Foster says she spent the last 18 months missing her niece Zion and wondering if the person who hurt her would ever have to answer for it.
But it felt like she was just forgotten. So it is a giant relief that they have been working on this the entire time. And it's fantastic to finally hear something.
In this case, there is a compelling body of evidence that confirms that the defendant took a young woman's life, disposed of her remains, and then repeatedly obstructed the investigation into her disappearance.
To throw her away is unfathomable, especially to have known her. She was the brightest light.
Last summer, Detroit police launched a search at a landfill in Lenox Township, months after the 17-year-old's disappearance. But unfortunately, they came up empty.
It feels terrible. It feels like a nightmare that we can't wake up from. Like she's just gone and there's nothing. It's terrible.
Even without a body, prosecutors feel like they built a strong case, levying a first-degree murder charge against Brazier.
Since we can't have her back, this is all we got. So, and we're just waiting to hear that final verdict.
On the afternoon of June 13th, the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office announced that an arrest 18 months in the making has led to a murder charge against the cousin of missing East Point teenager Zion Foster. Zion Foster went missing on January 4th, 2022, after leaving her home in East Point. Prosecutors say this took a year and a half of gathering evidence, examining it, and linking it together to make an arrest. Zion's family has spent the last 18 months missing her and wondering if the person who hurt her would ever have to answer for it, even at times feeling as if Zion has simply become a long-lost memory for investigators. Wayne County Prosecutor Kim Worthy charged Zion Foster's cousin, Jalen Brazier, in connection with her death. Just last year, 24-year-old Brazier was locked up for 10 months and charged with perjury for allegedly changing his story about Zion's whereabouts and ultimately confessing to police that he threw her body away in a dumpster after they smoked marijuana together and she stopped breathing. Last summer, Detroit police launched a search at a landfill in Lenox Township months after the 17-year-old's disappearance, but they came up empty. Even without a body, prosecutors feel that they have built a strong case, levying a second-degree murder charge against Brazier. He was also charged with tampering with evidence in the case. Through the midst of everything, Zion's mother ultimately decided to move out of the state of Michigan to get away from all the madness and pain caused by her disappearance. 24-year-old Jalen Brazier is scheduled to appear in court for a probable cause conference on July 3rd, and his preliminary examination is on July 10th.
Nearly a year and a half after Zion Foster's disappearance, her cousin is now facing a murder charge. There is still a lot that we don't know about this, but tonight someone is speaking about the case, and that's Zion's mother. Sean Lay is live for us tonight with her reaction to all of this. Sean.
Christy, this is Zion's mom's first reaction to these surprise murder charges that came late yesterday. She says she had not heard an update from investigators for such a long time. Then her phone rang, and it was police and prosecutors telling her that murder charges were coming.
It's been about, 526 days since I saw my baby.
Sierra Milton knows exactly how many excruciating days have passed since the final time she saw her beautiful daughter Zion. She reported Zion was missing in January of 2022. There were massive searches for her, and Zion's cousin, Jalen Brazier, was right there helping with those searches. Eventually, Brazier was charged with lying to police. He says he was last with Zion, says she suddenly died, and he put her body in a dumpster. Last summer, Detroit police conducted an exhaustive search for her remains in a landfill. Nothing was found. Tuesday, stunning news that Brazier is now being charged with murdering Zion, even though her remains have never been found. Zion's mom reacting to those charges.
I don't have any remorse for whatever happens in this case. I hope that the maximum, and I have been really just trying to hold on, So this is a good step forward.
Back here live, a good step forward with Zion's remains still not found. We wanted to know from Zion's mom what she knows, what new evidence that investigators were able to gather that led to these murder charges, second-degree murder charges. Zion's mom tells me she asked investigators, but they are keeping this very close to the vest. She also would like to know. That is something that's going to have to come out in court. We speak to Sierra Milton often about this horrible case. Her strength is just amazing each and every time.
Zion, she was a lot like me in some ways, but in some ways she was a million times better.
James Royster says he and his daughter Zion both shared a love of reading, but she was fearless in a way that he wasn't, never afraid to try something new.
I feel like she really had a lot to offer this world.
Nearly a year and a half after the 17-year-old went missing, her cousin, 24-year-old Jalen Brazier, is now in custody for her death, charged with first-degree murder and tampering with evidence. Royster says it has been extremely painful for him all of these months, knowing that no one was paying for taking his daughter from their family.
Every day knowing that the person who murdered my child is walking free, like it's okay and like it was all right that it happened. And the fact that honestly, I did nothing about that. I felt as a failure as a father, as a person, as a man, every day of my life.
He says there have been times he questioned the investigators and how long this all has taken, but he's grateful for those that made it happen and to those who showed him support along the way.
Despite how I look, am happy about what happened today, and hopefully this leads to some small amount of justice, I guess we can say.
You may remember this is a case in which Zion's body was never found. Her cousin, Jalen Brazier, was convicted for lying to police, saying he panicked and put her body in a dumpster after she fell unconscious after they had both smoked weed. He admitted he lied to police and served a sentence of 10 months in jail for perjury.
He made a plea, and he served his time in the correctional facility for those charges.
So what has changed since that time? In court, when the prosecutor started down that path, he was stopped by the judge.
There is a suppression order. I just want to remind you on suppressing any, well, I'm sure you read it, sir, it's from your office.
No, I understand, Your Honor, and we did move to suppress the warrant once it was entered into the system, just so that there wouldn't be any interference with the arrest. But I do feel that
it also indicates suppression of the investigator's report, as well as the warrant information and witness list.
But the defense attorney says even though he was just assigned this case, he finds it hard to believe enough has changed to warrant holding his client without a bond.
This is at least the third time the prosecutor's office has tried to bring charges against my client for the disappearance and alleged murder of Zion Foster. And they've been told multiple times, you do not have enough evidence.
That attorney says a lack of progress in the case shouldn't be held against Brazier.
This is a 2022 case. You know what stopped this case? The Detroit police not doing their job, period. And that's not anything my client did.
The idea that the Detroit Police Department did not do their job is frankly offensive, given that it's been publicly reported in this case that officers of the Detroit Police Department risked their own health to dig and dig and dig through a landfill.
Despite keeping the evidence in this case secret for now, the magistrate says he saw enough to hold the defendant without a bond.
I've had the opportunity to review the investigator's report, and it is extremely concerning.
Siding with the prosecutor, who says he could potentially try and run away.
During the course of his parole, he has inquired with the Michigan Department of Corrections about relocating to the state of Nevada.
He does not have the means to go anywhere. He just started a job a month ago. He lives with his family. He has a wife and 2 children here. He is not a flight risk at all. He doesn't have the means, and he doesn't have anything necessary to go anywhere, let alone out of the state of Michigan.
So now Brazier will wait in custody at least until his next court appearance, which is scheduled for July 3rd.
Very, very well, Your Honor. So there obviously the court has reviewed the investigator's report. there's a compelling amount of evidence in this case, circumstantially, that supports the conclusion that the defendant killed his cousin and then disposed of her remains. I guess in light of the order, I'm not gonna go into any vivid detail as to the nature of the evidence. If the court has specific questions, I'm happy to address them. But in addition to that, I think as the facts are laid out in the investigator's report and the overall circumstances of this case illustrate that the defendant poses a danger to the community. I think that the disposal of a human being into a dumpster, illustrates the regard that this particular defendant has for human life. Again, when you look at all of the forensic evidence in this case, it is compelling. And in addition to that evidence, there are some factors that I want to highlight when it comes to concerns that I have with the defendant's flight risk. And number one is that, from my understanding, the defendant has significant out-of-state contact. He did reside in Texas for a period of his life and accumulated various criminal contacts in the state of Texas, including being implicated in various petty offenses as a juvenile, some of which my understanding is resulted in juvenile dispositions. Secondly, he is currently on parole for lying to investigators in Macomb County in connection with the investigation that gave rise to this case. My understanding is that during the course of his parole, he has inquired with the Michigan Department of Corrections about relocating to the state of Nevada. Third, he is facing a tremendously high potential sentence in this case, especially given that sentencing can run consecutively when it comes to the tampering charge and the murder charge. I have his guidelines on the minimum end of the tampering charge. Again, this is the minimum end, scored at 34 to 67 months. And the minimum end of the murder charge scored at 225 months to 375 months to life. And I think that any time there is a sentence that is potentially that high, there is a risk of flight. And the other concern that I have is that, as is laid out in further detail throughout the course of the investigation, the defendant has a proven track record of obstruction in this case. Obstruction in the form of making evidence disappear, obstruction in the form of false statements, and given the overall circumstances of this case, given the defendant's contacts with other jurisdictions, he's not only a flight risk, but he's a danger to this community and a danger to the very integrity of this investigation. And because of all those factors, I would ask for him to be remanded.
Thank you, APA-LC. Any response, Councilman?
Yes, Your Honor, we're asking for a personal bond. As far as the allegations of being a flight risk, I'll go in reverse. I think contacts as a juvenile in the state of Texas does not make a criminal nature and a network that he can go to. He does not have the means to go anywhere. He just started a job a month ago. He lives with his family. He has a wife and 2 children here. He is not a flight risk at all. He doesn't have the means and he doesn't have anything necessary to go anywhere, let alone out of the state of Michigan. As far as the danger to society, I would argue that is not true. He has been on parole. He served. He had 2 instances where he did not tell the truth to a detective in East Point, Michigan, and he made a plea. And he served his time in the correctional facility for those charges. Those are the only times he talked to the investigator. Okay, there's not a multitude of lies. He served his time. He's on parole right now. He's been on parole for 5 months. He's had no problems with it whatsoever. In his job, he goes to work. He goes home. He goes back to work. He goes home. That's all he does. He doesn't go anywhere. His grandmother comes and visits him and his children. He is not a threat to society, nor is he a threat for leave. He's been a model parolee in this situation. Okay, so to say that he has all these things and he's this huge vast criminal empire and he can go and leave the country and go to Argentina and not face extradition. That's simply not true. Okay, they're painting a picture of a person who is not in front of you today. Okay, as far as what happened, I believe this is at least the third time the prosecutor's office has tried to bring charges against my client for the disappearance and alleged murder of Zion Foster. And they've been told multiple times, you do not have enough evidence. Now, I don't know what they have today that has changed that, but it can't be as compelling as anything before because they've been denied. They've been denied to bring charges on multiple occasions by the prosecutor's office. So again, I don't know, and I have just got into this today. I just found out about this hearing today, about not even 10 minutes ago. So I haven't seen any of the evidence or spoken about. I haven't seen any of the reports. I haven't even known anything was suppressed until you spoke to it today. But he's painting a picture of a person that doesn't exist. And actually, when I represented Mr. Brazier in Macomb County, he's actually one of the smartest, most articulate persons I've ever met. He is not some criminal. He's not some murderer. They've never been able to show it. And one of the mistakes that were made by the court was ignoring evidence that didn't disappear. They just flat out ignored it, and they were unable to bring charges. Now, I'm going to find out through discovery what has changed to this point where they think they can make allegations of sexual abuse against my client. So therefore, we're asking for a official bond, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any response from? Go ahead.
He'd like to get back to work. It took him over a month to get the current job he has now. He's in financial despair to take care of his whole house. He's had to move. I found out just this afternoon that the Detroit police kicked in the door of his home while nobody was there. Searched his home, ransacked it, took items including a computer that's not his, left a note on the couch telling what they took, and I believe a copy of a search warrant that I haven't seen yet. I mean, being on parole, he may or may be subject to a warrantless search, but I'm not sure kicking in his door when nobody's home to search a home and ransacking it allows that even on parole for a parole. But again, 5 months on parole, not a peep out of this plan.
Thank you. Any response from the people?
Your Honor, just a couple of points I want to make. Number one, about the reference to charges supposedly being denied at various points. This case was the result of a very lengthy investigation, an investigation that was made lengthy by conduct by the defendant's own admission that he disposed of the victim's body, which was never found. In any situation where we're dealing with the lack of a body, there's going to have to be a lot of investigation and a lot of time put into the investigation, and that's what got us here. But at the end of the day, we have a situation where the defendant and his younger cousin, who was 17 at the time when he was 23, walked into his house late at night, and she came out dead, was put in the trunk of his car, and he disposed of her body in a dumpster and then gave a series of inconsistent and largely unsupportable claims about what happened. So this idea that this is just some innocent person standing here is not going to be bared out by the facts that get presented in this case. And for that and for all of the information that's laid out in the investigator's report, again, I would stand by the request for remand. Short of that, I would ask for a high cash bond with a GPS tether and a house arrest. But I believe in these circumstances that remand is the only appropriate bond.
Thank you. Anything further, counsel?
Yes, I agree with the tether. I don't have a problem with that. As long as he can go to work and go home, we have no problem with that. He is not, again, a threat to anybody. He's not a threat to society. And to say that these charges took so much investigation, well, then they jumped the gun on multiple other times to try to get charges brought forth, and they were not able to. You know, and to say that he stopped this investigation, well, this is a 2022 case. You know what stopped this case? The Detroit police not doing their job, period. He did
Thank
not
you
find
both.
the body. Yes, he did dispose of it.
Your Honor,
To say he murdered her at this point and to hold a bond based upon a murder that did not occur, it's irresponsible, I believe.
Your Honor, can I
Thank you
make
both.
one response?
Sure.
The idea that the Detroit Police Department did not do their job is frankly offensive, given that it's been publicly reported in this case that officers of the Detroit Police Department risked their own health to dig and dig and dig through a landfill in hazardous conditions for months.
Okay,
to
let's
find the
keep
victim's
it
body.
to the purpose that why we're here. Okay, gentlemen, let's keep it to the purpose why we're here. I want to hear stuff regarding bond, and I appreciate both of your arguments. Anything further, APALC?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
You're welcome. Anything further, Counsel Don?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, thank you both. Mr. Brazier, the court's heard advocacy from arguments from both parties. Your attorney has advocated very well on your behalf. The court takes into consideration a number of things. I've had the opportunity to review the investigator's report, and it is extremely concerning. These allegations are of the utmost serious. Specifically count one, which is a possibility of a life offense where the allegation is somebody lost their life in reaction in relation to your actions. The court has considered very concerning that you were on parole for a conviction while at the time of this allegation as indicated by APALC. These are very serious pending allegations, and taking into consideration your prior criminal record, as well as the parole status and the serious nature of these allegations, the court, Mr. Brazier, does find you to be a danger to the community and finds that releasing you on a personal bond or any bond will not adequately satisfy the public's not adequately protect the public safety, finding you to be a danger to the community, given the information alleged in the investigator's report as well as provided by APALC. And for those reasons, the fact that you are on parole at the time of these allegations, the serious nature as indicated of the charges, specifically count one, as well as the information throughout the investigator's report, the court finding you to be a danger to the community is remanding you into custody for further proceedings. Anything further from the people?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Anything from defense?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Okay, good luck to everybody involved.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Have a good day. Thank you both for your patience.